Good morning. My name is Dr. Larry Force, and I am a professor of psychology at Mount St. Mary College. And myself and my colleague and friend, Dr. Jeffrey Kahana, we run a Center on Aging and Disability Policy. 3 years ago, we were funded by the New York State Developmental Disability Planning Council to do a grant to become present for families across New York State and families that have family members with intellectual or developmental disabilities or disabilities, and to be able to provide them resources, tools, and strategies regarding the use of mindfulness-based stress reduction. The first year we did small groups, focus groups, well received. And the second year we did train the trainer models as we were going through the state, once again, well received. But then COVID happened. And as a result of that, quarantine. And Peggy Pisano, school psychologist, and Lisa Nathan, parent, advocate, and meditator, they had been involved in working with school districts. But again, there weren't going to be assembled classes. So we had an informal discussion, and we created this thing called ProActive Caring School Exchange. And it was a way to be able to get our content knowledge out to families, individuals, and school districts. We started off informally, and the next thing you know, this thing really started to move. And we ended up getting a lot of local recognition, state recognition, and then federal recognition, being connected on the federal level. So initially we were going to go April. That's when schools were going to go back. Then we decided to go, okay, let's go to the end of June, because schools weren't going to go back. And then over the summer, you know the discussion, and you know where we are right now. And we decided to once again reestablish this presence. Today's theme is called New Concerns and Mindful Solutions, because there are new concerns. You know, the uncertainty. Before it was pretty certain. We were quarantined. There was a lockdown, a shutdown. Now it's a debatable point. You know, what schools are going to do what, how they're going to do it, how they're going to reconfigure classes, school buses, parents working. Really an increased sense of anxiety and uncertainty. And as a result of that, we're back. Here now talking about school exchange, you know, the proactive caring school exchange, and really talking about strategies that parents can use in the moment. I want to take a moment and be able to walk you through some of the things that we have accomplished here. And we, over the course of time, we've been able to put together I think a pretty powerful and resourceful, what we're calling a digital resource center. There it is, and here we are. So the name of our project is called ProActive Caring. We started off again with the small focus groups, and then, you know, over the course of time, we decided that we had to morph to the whole idea of, you know, moving to completely virtual. Where we are right now is, you know what, I have to stop this and do it again because I don't think it's recording. All right, so hold on a second. We're going to get rid of that. All right, everybody with me? We're not that far into it. Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you anyway, but the button is on, I think.
No, it says you are screen sharing, you are recording. And you know what? To show that how informal this is, we're not going to stop recording. It is recording. So
yeah, it's recording.
We're going to move forward. So this is our Proactive Caring Digital Resource Center. And I'm not going to walk you through every single word, but there's the home. Here's about us, about our center, about how we were able to you know, move forward with the funding and support from New York State Developmental Disability Planning Council. When you go to the home button, you'll notice, and I'm not going to take you there just yet, but we have a free downloadable e-manual that was put together by representatives Dr. Skiri and Teresa Drum from the Parent Network of Western New York. And this is so powerful and so useful. And I'll show you that in a second. We have a tab for growing mindful. And in that tab, we have all these resources, mindful minutes, the Proactive Caring e-newsletter, relaxation exercises. Then you come over here to the resource section, and we have all the school exchanges through the recommendation of one of the parents about being connected with Lisa and Peggy over the course of the summer. We instituted this Lisa and Peggy corner. This drawing was developed by Eric, 13 years old. He did a great job with this, and it's in our newsletter, which you'll see more reference to. So this is the Proactive Caring School exchange. I know that I had a municipality contact me and tell me, ask me, could they put this material up on their website because of the fact that some of the agencies are using it as in-service training. So not only are there topics, Lisa looking at it from the parent lived experience, the meditator experience, and Peggy looking at it from the behavioral experience, all this stuff is out there. Beyond this, we also have now a parent guide that was put together by Dr. Michael Hibbert and Dr. Patricia Zyganovich. And the whole thinking, and again, free downloadable material. The whole thinking is that, now that parents are exhaling, what do they do next? What are some of the activities? And I'm not going to download this now, but this is a guidebook that is available. Then you come over here and we have our newsletters. Elaine Sproat did a wonderful job with the newsletters. Let me just bring them up here. Here is July 2020. August hasn't been put up yet. We've just circulated that last week. But this is the Proactive Caring e-newsletter. Again, with active links, connections, resources. And again, our whole thinking is that parents do not have to do this alone. And the other thing that we're very proud of is the fact that the material, the ebook that we've put together is now being translated into Spanish. This is what, I'm not going to go through the whole ebook thing, but this is what the ebook, how you get to it. Get this course. I'm already in the course. I'm already signed up. Let's see if I remember there. Hold on a second. Now I'm in. Am I in? No, it's asking me to sign up, which I'm not going to do now. But you sign up, it's very quickly. You just put in your email, and then you get access to the manual. And the manual is so well done. We had a woman join our team, Dugan Radkin, and she ended up taking this thing and really making it dance. And again, I'm not sure if I can just see if I can get access to it. Very easy. Nope. It's asking me to do my password again. We'll do that later. So here we are. Matter of fact, when Peggy and Lisa are talking, I'll go back off screen and get access to the book for you. So here we are, and the idea is, okay, what's next? So we put out a Proactive Caring, August newsletter. And we started to realize that we're going to go weekly. We're going to go from today to the end of September. And the topic today is new concerns and mindful solutions. So we like to make this what we say it is, which is an open exchange. But at this point, what I'd like to do is I would like to ask Lisa and Peggy, to further develop the conversation here. We had a nice discussion last night about, how best we can move forward with this. So I don't know, Lisa, do you want to start about some of the real lived concerns that you're going through, not only professionally but personally, now with children, not just and school districts not deciding what they're really going to do. So Lisa.
Yeah, we've been talking about this. I mean, for myself, hi everybody. My son is 19. He's in a program that's embedded into the community. And it's changing. He's going into a different program. I've been given a choice whether to send him to school or do virtual. And that's my choice. And it's scary, and this is repeated, throughout the country, making these choices, which are really, sitting in uncertainty and not knowing, is it going to be safe? What's it going to look like? What's going to happen if somebody gets COVID? Is everyone going to go home? He can't be home alone. I have a 19-year-old, but he can't be home alone, you know, because of that possibility if something happens. What do I do? So these are real concerns. These are, you know, this is our reality now. You know, this is what we're faced with, and, you know, you have to make the best choices that you can at the moment with the information you have.
And maybe you could talk a little bit about, you know, the kind of the mixed messages that you are getting, you know, from, you know, people that are saying, okay, this is what our intention is. We're not sure where we're going. I mean, because again, I loved what you said early on in this series when you said that your superintendent, and I've heard different variations of this, but from different people, but your superintendent said, you know, we're building the buses, we're driving it down the street.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah. The mixed messages. I think, you know, and I also have a daughter who's going into her senior year in high school, and I have one who graduated college. So I'm sort of like, you know, all over the map here. And I think it's hard because the school wants to abide by CDC guidelines. They're given this parameter of CDC guidelines. And in the midst, you have so many different possibilities. You know, nothing is clear just because everybody can wear a mask. Let me think. Let me see if I can put this more clearly. CDC has very concrete guidelines, but we're working in a very fluid situation. And I think that just becomes very difficult to set those guidelines we need for school because it is so fluid. And, you know, and every parent has different concerns. Do you have somebody living at home with underlying conditions? You know, can you, if your child is home, can you work? You know, can you support your family financially? What's going to happen? If you have to work and you're sending your kid to childcare, that could be another 20 grand a year that you weren't expecting to spend because you got to, you know, so there are all these things within very concrete guidelines set by the CDC. And I think that just is so difficult.
And this, what you just described, you know, I think we've all had multiple conversations in different arenas, and everybody's saying the same thing. You know, we have a friend that has 3 children. 2 children are going to be homeschooled. 1 child's not going to be. And, you know, now she's wrestling with the fact of, you know, because the child that's not going to be homeschooled is the youngest. And she knows how this is going to be every morning when he sees, you know, his sisters, you know, staying home and he has to go to school. Plus she also works, as does the husband. So we know that this is a sense of increased anxiety. So, you know, maybe we could just, knowing this, maybe we could just talk about some of the strategies that can be used. You know, Peg, you know, with your affiliation and experience with school districts, you know, we're talking about the anxiety for the student, the anxiety for the parent, but there's also an anxiety for the administrator, the anxiety for the teacher. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that. The teacher now apprehensive about going back into a classroom.
I had the sort of pleasure, I guess, of watching a Zoom faculty meeting from the school district that I used to work at just the other day, and the anxiety of everyone is, I mean, you could feel it. It's palatable. The teachers are concerned, and this is a high school, so you know, high school students, just like we're seeing out in the world in the colleges, they kind of don't reason the way we would hope they would. They don't necessarily reason in a mature adult fashion. So just wearing masks is going to be a policing requirement while a teacher is teaching. So they're very concerned about in-person teaching. They're very concerned about remote teaching because, as I said in the faculty meeting, you know, kids would put their name up there and they knew that the student was not there anymore. So how do we, you know, monitor the fact that they're sitting there or not sitting there just because their name is up there. So there are all these requirements that now are going to have to be put in place even for remote learning. And then is it going to be synchronous or asynchronous? And then what happens to teachers who have their own, as Lisa said, children who can't be home alone for whatever reason? And so now what? Daycares are, at 50% capacity. So if you don't jump in and get a spot, then you won't have a spot. But you don't necessarily need a spot every day if you're going to teach remotely. And so, one of the teachers was the one who commented that she has 2 children that would typically be in school, and now she has to find daycare for both of them who, may or may not go to school. She may or may not go to school. And then financially, it's a significant burden on her family. So there's, I think, anxiety from every perspective, and every person feels, I think, that their difficulty, anxiety, what have you, problems, if you will, are paramount. And so, yes, we're all experiencing the same things, but, incorporating them and feeling them in different ways. And so I think it's very, very difficult across the board for students, for faculty, for administration, and for parents. It's just, I was kind of looking through all of our past work, and I think even though we're looking at the future, all of those little segments that we did on fear and anxiety and better sleep and, better nutrition and what to do in a positive sort of way are still relevant for right now, because I think now it's more difficult to plan because you just don't know. And as Lisa said, if there's a COVID case in your school, does that mean everybody goes remotely? So explain that to, a kindergartner or a first grader who is starting school for the first time, is very excited. And now, oops, you can't go anymore because, we have to shut down for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever it is. So I think going to school is difficult. Staying home is difficult. There's just no easy answer. And I think we're all feeling that level of fear and anxiety and in the unknown.
So when people show up in therapeutic practice or when they're working with somebody, they say, I might be anxious or I might be depressed. And one of the things you try to look at is, what is the origin of that? Is it free floating or is it fixed? This one is pretty fixed. I don't think people have to try to figure out why they feel the way they do. We know why they're feeling the way they do, including ourselves. The fact is that, I'm connected with a college. I'm a professor of psychology, and we're going back. And I know that in talking with some of the students and talking with some of the parents, there's mixed messages. Yes, let's go, let's move forward. And other people are saying, well, what happens if? And we don't really know all the rules and all the guidelines. As you indicated, Lisa, what happens if a student tests positive? What impact does that have on the rest of the class? Colleges, universities, high schools, middle schools, grammar schools, they're trying their best. And I think in many ways, they're modeling each other. They're seeing what one school will do, and then they're going to follow the lead of that particular school. So knowing that this is a fixed issue, we know what it is, can the two of you, and then let's open this up for dialogue, but can the two of you talk about some strategies that parents can use in the here and now? Maybe from a behavioral perspective, maybe from a meditative perspective. And where we're going with the meditative perspective, Lisa. And I'm going to ask Peggy to address this question first, because one of the things I'd like you to do, which people have asked for, is that example, that lived example of the meditation, about what parents can do at this point in addressing this. So Peg, maybe from a behavioral perspective, knowing that this is the issue, what is it that we can see or encourage or recommend that parents do, engaging with the school district, engaging with their child? This discussion could last hours, but we're not going to do that. But maybe in a few minutes you could just talk about some of the real life behavioral next steps for parents in engaging with school districts and
I just want to jump in with this. Yes, it is a fixed issue that, it's sort of a fixed anxiety. It's not that free floating. I don't know why I'm anxious. However, I think the unknown of exactly what's going to happen and when and how makes it that much more significant for people. Because yes, you know that the problem is, I want to know if my child's going to school and will my child be safe? But I don't think anyone can answer that question. So I think in the best manner possible, people have to try to kind of alleviate their own anxieties and cope with their own fears, because there is an unknown and it is sort of free floating, and even though it's a fixed issue. So I think all of those strategies that we talked about in the past with anxiety is, express those things. Try to, allow yourself even and your child to express what's going on to the best of their ability. For younger children or children with disabilities, perhaps, it's more difficult, but I think if at all possible, talk to your child and explain. We might go to school, we might not go to school. How do you feel about that? And try to process that information with your child. And then, again, we talked about in the past, taking some of the energy that you have and putting that into action, perhaps putting that into something structural, something positive, something that the person could do for the family or for the environment or for the community or what have you. So that one, you try to get your mind off of those, anxious feelings and thoughts. And also when we do things that are good for others, then, we tend to feel better about ourselves and our issues. In the past, we talked about limiting exposure to TV, and I know that, and media sources in general. And so that's hard to do when your child is older, but even for the adults in the family, perhaps, less is more in this case, because, the more you watch, the more, I think, anxious and concerned you become. And then, search for good things in the world. I get Governor Cuomo's thing every day, every morning on the computer. And at the end, he always ends with something positive. So I think there are lots of positive things that are going on out there in the world. And I think that, if we focus on some of those, I think it tends to decrease, if you will, some of those anxious feelings. It's a difficult environment out there. I think that, staying connected to family and friends as best possible. It's nice weather, so there's always that social distancing outside stuff that can happen right now. And I think that the more we do that now, the better off we'll be, because who knows what will happen when the weather turns colder and we're more indoors. So I think for now, outside, moving around, especially for children and students, get out there and socialize distantly, but still socialize, because who knows in the future.
The points you make are so valid. And I think that one of the things that I think we can also emphasize is just the power, as you talked about getting outside, the power of walking. The power of, whether it be with or without a dog, the power of walking, just getting outside and doing something. Not everything is a psychological intervention. Not everything is based upon a talking therapy approach. And the fact is, some of the things that you can do doesn't mean you have to wait 7 months to feel the effect of them. You can do them today. And that is, at some point, just going outside and building in some type of a non-negotiable activity, that this is going to happen every single day. And the idea of walking is so powerful because of the fact that it has a biochemical effect. You feel better. The whole idea of being outside with sunshine, you can't stress that enough. So I think the points that you make are absolutely right on target. So now from Lisa, from your perspective, okay, here are the parents. We know what the issues are. What do you recommend? Because you're not talking about it from a distance or far, you're living it. So talk about some of the things that you do incorporating into your own day, in the rhythm of your own day, that you found to be helpful.
All right, well, you mentioned something, and Peggy, I love your points, and you just brought something up about the non-negotiable aspect of doing something every day, and that brings up habit. And one of the main things you learn as a meditator is how to create a habit. Because it's the everyday, it's the doing something every day that really creates the positive results. So how do you make something habitual? And we have habits all the time. We get up, you bathroom, you brush your teeth first thing in the morning. What you do when you go to sleep, looking at your phone first thing in the morning when you wake up, checking your emails. We all have habits. So I think creating a habit of doing something positive, even thinking something positive when you wake up in the morning, taking a positive point of view, taking a moment. And that's something, I try to do when I first wake up, when all those swirling thoughts start, is okay, I'm going to just have a positive moment here. And doing that can really set the tone of your day. So that's one thing. And, something else is in a meditative sense, when you're feeling anxious is, the breath work to take your mind out of that fight or flight response and to make yourself calm, with a little bit of breath work, making, your exhales longer than your inhales, making sure you're breathing from your belly. Very simple to do in 3 breaths. And very often when we're feeling very anxious, when something's happening, we tend to run. We tend to want to avoid these feelings. And one of the things that, meditation and these things teach you is to just sit with them, not to run from them, and really try to pay attention to how your body feels, where it's happening, where you feel the tension in your body. And so you can sort of more clear-headedly see what some of the solutions might be, because these are all problems that you want to find solutions for. And you have to find the best solution, and being clear-headed and understanding how the emotions and anxiety are working in your body can really make you have more clear-headed decision making.
Could you run us through a simple 2-3 minute exercise? When
Do you
you
want
talk
to do
about,
the breath work?
when you talk about, when you wake up in the morning and, what happens. I mean, our thoughts are swirling, and they're moving back and forth. Maybe just for 2 minutes, if you could demonstrate to people how you go about implementing that approach.
Sure. We'll do that with a little bit of breath work.
Okay.
Just those long breaths. We'll do that. Okay. All right, everybody. So right now, I automatically close my eyes because that's how I kind of enter my calm. And you can even do this lying down when you wake up in the morning. Just for a moment, feeling your body in contact with the bed. Just lying there. Feeling how the bed is supporting you. The contacts where your body is touching the bed. Right now, I'm just sitting here, so I'm feeling my body. You're taking your mind, you're taking all the swirling thoughts, and again, you're settling and bringing down to your body, finding the stillness in your body. Then I'm going to take some deep breaths. What I'm going to do is I'm going to breathe through my nose, and I'm going to feel the expansion in my belly, deep down in your belly. And I'll breathe in for 3. Take a slight pause. And now I'm going to exhale, but I'm going to double my exhale to 6. And I'm going to repeat that. One more. Breathe in. 1, 2, 3. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now, any stress I feel, any tension I feel, make my body more relaxed. And I'm just going to say to myself, you know, a little bit of gratitude. I can just say what I'm grateful for this morning, that I woke up. It's a beautiful day. I have a home. Right now, at this very moment, I'm safe. My family is safe at this very moment. And just something I can be happy for, something I can be grateful for. Just to switch on a positive thought process. Just let it go. And you can also breathe out through your mouth. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that. Breathing in through your nose and just exhaling like you're blowing through a straw, blowing out through your mouth. Just saying thank you. And now I'm ready to get up and just start my day. Thank you.
Thank you. And you know, I loved what you said, entering my calm. I mean, many of us know how to do chaos, respond, react. But this idea of entering my calm, you know, and the doorway for you, as you say, which I thought was great, is I close down my eyes.
Right.
I mean, this idea of, you know, and it's something that we've talked about both on these video casts and offline. When we talk about the power of meditation, we don't want people just to have the image that we're talking about. Everybody has to sit on a yoga mat in a lotus position. You know, we've even talked about introducing the word micro meditation, which is out there, and you know, you Google micro meditation, you know, and then from there we even came up with this idea of pause thought. It doesn't mean you have to carve out 45 minutes. Even in this forum here, we were never under any false impression that people were going to be able to join us in mass at 10 o'clock on Wednesday when they're doing all of the other things like homeschooling and everything else. And what we ended up doing is we ended up using the power of our distribution list. And then from there, we were asking people, and we still are asking people, if they would then, you know, send their material, our material out through their distribution list. And from that, we've made so many contacts and had so many positive, you know, acknowledgements. Stacy has joined us. I'm not sure if you can hear us yet, but we're glad to have her. But here's the good news before I open it up for 1 second. Here's the good news. Just give me 1 second here. You ready? I was able to, when the two of you were talking, I was able to get access to the book, which is very easy to do, even though it looked like it wasn't. So this is the Proactive Caring Caregiver Support Program, the manual. And the reality is that Lisa and Peggy have spent a good amount of time over the course of the last 6 months, you know, giving you ideas and strategies. Okay. And now the other thing that we have available is this manual here. It's telling me the course is completed. Hold on. Wait a minute. I already did the course. I'm going to go right there. Here it is. So here is our manual. And we are so proud of it. So this is a guideline that will walk you through the different modules. And what's the reality? The reality is you got stress, we can help. It's self-paced for home use. Some people will go through one module a week. Some people will go through one module an hour. Some people will go through one module a month. It's up to them. But the beauty of this is the fact that it's free, downloadable. You can download it. Or if you want to use it online, it really has become a very, very powerful digital resource. And there's the introduction about it. And then we get into, you know, module 1 about stress. And Mindy and Teresa have done an outstanding job of giving you exercises that you can use and some background and some things that you can, you know, input. You know, discovering mindfulness, module 2, you know, a 3-minute breathing exercise. So the fact it's a guidebook, it's a compass, okay? And you can use it as such. And then there's an opportunity when you download it, and you know, if you want to print it out or use it digitally, you know, there's opportunity for reflection. Then we get into mindful perception. And Elaine and Dugan, they did an incredible job of making this thing dance. So that, this started out as a Word document, okay, from Mindy and Teresa with tremendous content. And then the next thing you know, look at this. We are so proud of this. And the comments that we have received have been so positive. Then module 4, mindful awareness. On the video cast today is Sharon Mary Cohen. Sharon Mary Cohen has been with us since day one. And we knew that this is where we wanted to go, creating a digital resource program, having access to things that would live beyond the framework of the grant. We never thought we would get here by the way we got here, because we had no other way to go because of the COVID, the quarantine. And now this is something that lives on what we're calling a ProActive Caring Digital Resource Center, a website that people can have access to. Here's module 5, mindful thoughts, and then it walks you day by day of things that you can do. So again, the beauty of this is, one of my favorite theorists is Albert Ellis. And one of the things, kind of, the rational emotive therapy, in your face type of intervention, you want to change, then act like you want to change. You have stress and you want to be able to try to, reduce the stress, then act like you want to be able to reduce that stress. And the fact is that you don't have to do this alone. And that's one of the things that really propelled us to make the pivot so quickly, is that we had this information, all this content, the stuff, the training, the richness of the training that we did across time, but there was no way to assemble people. So I remember clearly the day that, the decision was made, we're going to provide this in a virtual platform, and we're going to be able to develop a presence and support for families, not overload them with content, but just get to them to show them that they don't have to do this alone. And then as a result of that, over the course of time, we've developed these resources that you can use in the privacy of the rhythm of your own life. Here's module 7, mindful advocacy, and the whole idea of effective collaboration. There's so many good things in here that again, each week broken down by day, and then mindful collaboration. And this whole idea of getting to yes, my friend and dear colleague, Roger Monti, that's one of his management things that I learned from him years and years ago. How do we get to yes? Okay, because in a yes situation, everybody wins. So this is available. Again, you can use it, online like I'm doing right now, or you can download it and print it out if you so desire, use it in any way possible. But again, this wasn't done in solo or in isolation. Look over there on the acknowledgement page. It's person after person after person that's had their fingerprints on the outcome of this. And collaboratively, what a great effort. And then there's other ways to contact us, through Instagram, Facebook. Elaine and Dugan have done a great job of boosting the Facebook presence. We have Twitter, we have a YouTube channel. So we're very proud of this whole, initiative. So with that, hello, Stacy. It's good to see you. With that, let's open it up for discussion. Thoughts, comments, reactions?
I'd like to, you have that guidebook that you mentioned from Michael and Patricia.
Right.
On problem solving.
Right.
And, there's some really brilliant stuff in there. And I think that's very helpful for parents and children in kind of gathering your emotions and everything going on and putting it in a very concrete form. I think that's very, very useful.
Let me bring it up.
Yeah.
As we're talking. ProActive. Please continue to talk.
Yes. But
here it is right here, thinking it through, the parent guide. This is a relatively new resource that we posted probably last week. Patricia is a retired school principal, 30 plus years. Michael is a retired assistant superintendent, 30 plus years. And they came together and they wrote a book called Thinking It Through. And in talking with them, I said, why don't you come on to one of the podcasts? And as Elaine indicated in the newsletter, what a great job they did. And from that, then we had a conversation with them. Is there a way that they can take their problem-solving model and build it into, the foundation of our program, which is mindful? Because of the fact that through, the book, through the work that Lisa and Peggy are doing, we feel that we've been able to get people to inhale and exhale and use strategies to calm themselves down. And now that being done, what's next? And then Michael and Patricia put together this guidebook, which is a problem solve. This thing here, this is based upon their model. The interesting thing is Michael drew that in order to get the logo in his driveway, because there are stages to this idea of thinking it through. And what they do here, and again, it's a free downloadable resource. And here are the goals, breathe deeply. We're having discussions now internally, is the fact that, the whole goal of proactive caring was to be able to be present for, family caregivers. Okay, now we've done that. So let's build upon that and talk about strategies that family caregivers and parents can use with their person, okay, with their individual, with their son, daughter, brother, sister, in order to help them internalize and practice these strategies of mindfulness. So the idea of help children use the cycle of problem solving independently, in a mindful way. There have been multiple discussions recently about the role of transition, and transition has such a different meaning depending upon who you're asking. But whether it be from high school to college, or college to competitive world, or high school to program. And one of the things that, we're now talking about is being able to, there's a lot of material out there on transitions, but there's nothing out there on using a mindfulness-based platform in the idea of transitions. We've developed a nice, unbelievable working relationship, positive working relationship with Access out of Washington, which is a national advocacy group. And Kate McSweeney, who's the Vice President of Government Relations, has been such an avid supporter of ours. And when I was telling her about this discussion about transitions, she said, on the federal level, what would be required is a further definition, because transitions can mean so many different things to so many different people. And that's very true, because, this opportunity of proactive caring is a lifespan approach. And transitions looks differently depending upon what stage, and also what are the individual interests. We're not building a model. We're talking about self-determination. People can pick and choose what they want to be able to do because they know best how to address these issues for themselves. But in reference to what Lisa mentioned, here is the guidebook. Let's solve some problems. They have cycles of problem solving, and then they have exercises.
And Larry,
go ahead.
But even that model could even help with the transition process, because you can start talking about entering the ideas of like, what do I want? The problem is, I don't know what I want to do when I'm done with school. So, what are my interests? What do I want to do? What are the possibilities? And just kind of keep honing it. So it's useful for many things.
Absolutely. Okay. And again, Elaine and Dugan had their fingerprints on this, because this came in as a Word document, as it should. And then they really went to work on it and made it the presentation spectacular. So that's the parent guide. Now, hold on a second, because I want to bring up something else. Let me see if I have to go back to.
I want to just make
Please.
one more point. And I know, like Peggy, you touched on this too, is how our children are affected by our anxiety. The energy that we're presenting, what do they pick up? So I think we need to also bear that in mind when we're doing this. And I think this is a really great platform for bringing that into the open, so the kids don't internalize it without a place for all those feelings to go.
Absolutely. I'm just looking for something as you're talking. So please, and let's open this up. Stacy, Elaine, Marcia.
I think, Lisa, that was a critical point, because we're all anxious right now for varied reasons. And children do feel that, and they reflect our own anxieties. And it's hard not to be anxious in this sort of uncertain world, but as best possible, as a parent, if you can present a stronger front, a less anxious front, if you will, you think the better off your children will be. Not to dispute that there's not anxiety, and not to say that you're not feeling unsure or uncertain, but perhaps, trying to demonstrate to your child what to do with that. And I do think that problem-solving model could help with that. Here's the issues. Here are what we're looking at in terms of going back, not going back, school, remote, what have you. And then let's work through that and see what solutions we can come up with.
And I think it's important
strategy.
Yeah, and it's important to keep in touch with the small things, especially for young children if they're anxious. Well, we can go and wash our hands. Washing our hands gets rid of germs. You're safe in your bed. The disease is not going to come through the window. You don't know what's going on in their little heads. Their perceptions and imaginations, where that's taking them. So I think anything to kind of make it concrete, to make them feel safe is really important. Even for older kids, because it's, there's so much, they are so much in touch with social media. There's so much stuff flooding their senses constantly. So it's, being able to.
I think I agree with Lisa and Peggy. I think also the idea behind.
Before you go on, Stacey, could
Sure.
you please introduce yourself to everybody, not by your formal name, but as the proud mother of the artist that is being highlighted right here.
Thank you so much, Larry.
Listen, I'm not kidding you. Okay, when we decided to do the Peggy and Lisa corner as a result of your recommendation about getting in contact with Peggy and Lisa, then you and I had an offline discussion about, like, a logo, and you said, hey, Eric's an artist. He can draw some figures. And the next thing you know, boom, we got the Peggy and the Lisa and Peggy corner with the work from Eric. And, we can't thank you enough for your involvement, for your family's involvement, and for Eric's involvement. But this is before you go on, this is the newsletter that we referenced before, that Elaine put together. And it's just, again, there's the book, here's the access stuff, Hudson Valley Healing Center, Parent Network,
My snowy owl.
caregivers. So go ahead, I'm sorry, but I wanted to introduce yourself properly as the proud mother of the artist.
Well, thank you so much. I am a proud mom of two wonderful boys. My Jason was also an honors art student in 7th and 8th grade. He goes into 11th. And Eric is a painter. He paints weekly. He's in a program with Xylophone called Animal Art. I'm trying to get myself out of the way. I'm just going to bend down. That's our snowy owl. Every week he paints, and he draws. He's been drawing stick figures since he was a young boy. If I ask him to send a postcard to my dad, he'll draw a dude and a lady, or if I'm included in the picture. And there's commonality. Peggy and Lisa look similar. They're two ladies with hair down, so that's the lady. And then the fellow has a little bit of hair on top, and is super cute. He has interest in art. So this actually is a circle back point to something Lisa was saying. Celebrate the small, consider the small, and find the strengths. I love the idea that we're always encouraging positive behaviors, positive strategies, solutions to problems, looking for answers, following a path, being goal-oriented, taking actions. It's really important that when we consider transition, where are we going? And so we should always be mindful to the individual, and what's a better way to do that than to come up with where they have a strength. So I have made time and energy to work with Eric, where he's actually created a cards company. We're photographing his artworks now, and we're making small note cards and selling packages of 5 cards for $10 and donating some of the profits to the Choose Love movement, which is a wonderful give back. And it's always important to have a sense of the greater good and giving back to the community for all the right reasons. And so I think that although he doesn't necessarily have a great sense of dollars and cents, the business piece, but the artist behind it, as an illustrator, and to be able to learn, the steps to make that happen. And it certainly builds his confidence as well with the newsletter. Thank you so much, Elaine. You did an amazing job putting it together.
Really did.
And when he saw it pop up on my screen, he has a pose. It's sort of a superhero. It's a comfort pose, and he closes his eyes and he goes into a momentary zone of pride. And I love that. When I can feel his energy pop up to another level of self-confidence as a mom, I can't be better than that moment. And that will take him to where he needs to go. Another comment that Lisa made, I wanted to really just sort of trail off of, and I think maybe Peggy mentioned it too, around feelings. The idea with the anxiety, for me, I have it. Whether it's a low level or a medium level. Larry even mentioned in a circle we were talking recently where it's almost a higher state of anxiety being in the community. When we were all quarantined and hunkered down, it was a more of a safe zone. And now that we're out and about, there's a bubbling up of who has what, who's more protected, who's yes or no wearing a mask. You find yourself looking around in a community and they're not, like the things that are going through our mind are causing more low-lying levels of what if and anxieties. I had to make a very critical choice with regards to school. And I came onto the meeting late today because Eric had a dentist appointment, which he did really well at today for a cleaning. But I decided homeschool, and educationally and academically, I don't think it was the power move. Health and safety wise, I had to go with that first and foremost. And we'll do our very best to supplement, and I'll have my head in the game and do my best to figure out whatever the needs are for both my kids. But with regards to the feelings, so to circle around the anxiety, I think they feel it. And I have to say that I've become more comfortable with trying to teach it and not hiding it. And I think it's important because Eric is fairly uncomfortable with negative and anxious feelings, to identify it within himself and probably to reflect it and feel it off me, more so than my Jason. So the other point that circles with that is the tangibles versus the untangibles. So feelings aren't exactly tangible, where if I'm smiling and I'm happy, I think that's a completely different level, and how we interact and react. I just have a sense that it's important to be able to recognize within the anxiety and then go back to the strategies that we've been taught in a lot of cases, Larry, under our program with regards to mindfulness, to use strategies. So Eric, let's take a moment for some deep breathing. Let's try and work through this and be able to then apply this strategy in the moment where we're trying to find a solution to a problem.
Well, Stacy, you know that how much we value your presence and your thoughts. And that's where we're thinking now about how to take this model, this program, these strategies, not a model, but these strategies and points, and be able to translate them into teachable moments for our children. So look, at this point, I think we need to wrap this up. Elaine, any comments, thoughts? Marcy? Thank you, Stacy. Any comments, thoughts? Everybody's good? Okay, so that being, yes?
Thank you so much. I've learned a lot, and I really appreciate all the information that you're sharing with us.
Oh, you're welcome. And thank you for being involved, okay? And anything that we can do, please reach out to us.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, we're going to bring this to a close. And Lisa, Peggy, again, tremendous. Now we move to next week. And next week, the theme is called Riding the Emotional Anxieties of the New School Year, one breath at a time. So again, thank you everyone for joining us, and we will see you again next Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Thank you.
Thank you.